There is a very, very common issue I find with students who are coming into English from Romance languages, Slavic languages, a lot of Asian languages as well. And it has to do with the sort of rhythm that we need when we speak. It has to do with a concept called syllable time versus stress timed. And today we're going to be showing how sometimes we can apply rhythms from our first language into our second language, and the result is going to be a sound that may not be the most natural. And we're also going to talk about what you can do to adjust that. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Schwa Mill. This is your American English pronunciation review show. We are here right around 7 a.m. New York on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays to try to give you some pronunciation feedback on audio files that you send to us. We have a Telegram group where people can join for free to send in audio files for us to choose from for review. So thanks to everyone who's been sending us audio files. And to guide you in this journey, there is me. Hi, my name is Geoff. It rhymes with breath. That is one of the 4 keys for a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath, trying to weaken your consonant sounds in order to sound or give more space to your vowel sounds. And all of those elements, honestly, are going to be at play here today when we take a look at our files. So I'm going to play 2 audio files, and I want you to just kind of note the music, note the rhythm that each of these people who was kind enough to send us audio files was doing. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about it in this stress time versus syllable time pattern. Here's your first audio file.
Yeah, and there is actually a moment where I reached out.
And here is our second audio file.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something.
Okay, so let's just talk about syllable time versus stress time pattern, because when I'm hearing these files, I'm hearing a rhythm that is definitely more syllable timed. So in a syllable timed language, let's take let's use a word, maybe a long word that has some multiple syllables. All right, let's take a look at this. So we have this word independently. Okay. Primary stress on the pen, the third syllable. So in a syllable time language, something you could expect is that all of the syllables take roughly the same weight. It's like independently, 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 independently. If you were to look at the time, you would see that each syllable takes about the same amount of time to say as the previous syllable. Nothing really gets reduced. You still have stress, right? Independently. We're still indicating stress on that pen, but all the other syllables around pen are all more or less carrying the same weight. Compare that to a stress time language. In a stress time language, instead of saying it like independently, and even there I was a little bit too fast on the leap. In a stress time language, you would expect something more like dependently. Dependently. Do you hear that difference between independently and dependently? What happens in a stress time language is the stress syllable is made slightly longer, in addition to going up in pitch. The other syllables, if I don't stress you, I'm trying to get you out of the way. I don't want you to be there. So I'm just going to give you as little space as possible. In the, versus in the becomes in the. And then pen, pen, see how it's independently, independently versus independently, independently. This has a huge impact, as you can probably imagine, at the sentence level. This is just an example of one word, but this is happening across entire sentences. I just did it right there, right? Across entire sentences. I didn't say across entire sentences. I said across entire sentences. Across entire sentences. And this is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people, when they learn American English and they speak American English, they struggle to get a natural sound. It's also the reason why when you take, for instance, take so I'm working with like a British actor right now, and he doesn't have to worry as much about this rhythm aspect because even in British English, you're still dealing with stress time and not syllable time. So if you're coming from a language that's stress time, this is a much easier concept to adopt. If you're coming from a syllable time language, it's going to be a challenge because the rhythm is going to be very different. Okay, so let's go back to our audio files, and I'm going to try to demonstrate for you what exactly, where exactly we're sounding more stress time versus more syllable time and things like that, and what we can do to sound more stress time. Here's our first audio file again. Um, Again, the audio file may come in a little bit hot, so you may need to lower your speakers slightly. All right, that said, let's take a listen to this.
Yeah, and there is actually a moment where I reached.
And there is actually a moment where it's like one of the things that's happening here that I like is there's a lot of pitch movement here. We're kind of repeating cycles of pitch movement, but there is some inside of thought groups, there is a lot of pitch contrast, which is great. One of the things that's not allowing this to sound more typical what you would hear in North America is that all the syllables are very, very balanced.
Yeah, and there is actually a moment where I reached out.
Okay, so he's basically saying this phrase, yeah, there is actually a moment where I reached out. Okay, so this is more or less what I believe was said. Okay, so first things first. If you have a little phrase and you're like, I want to make this sound a little bit more stress time, less syllable time. Okay. First things first, I would really recommend is maybe start off by just trying to use some longer thought groups. When I'm hearing this file, there is a lot of short thought groups. I'm going to play it again.
Yeah, and there is actually a moment where I reached out.
Yeah, each of these thought groups is like one or two words long. That's very fast. Yeah, there is actually a moment where I reached out. Like everything's really uh, choppy in terms of the thought groups. So everything's really, really short. So if we had some longer thought groups, like let's imagine that we can keep the yeah as its own thought group. There's actually a moment um, where I reached out. So let's maybe do something like that. Okay. Still pretty short thought groups, but slightly fewer. So yeah, yeah. So see that I'm making yeah longer. I'm making the faster. Yeah. Um, there's actually a moment. There's actually a moment. There's actually a moment. So like let's put stress on actually. Notice that with the there is, this is why we see a lot of contractions. Why does English use contractions? Well, part of it is because of this stress time pattern. Um, so instead of saying there is, I'm saying there's actually a moment. And then where I reached, and stress on reach. So instead of saying where I reached, I'm gonna say where I reached, where I see how that's reduced? Where reached, I reached out, and then stress on out. So yeah. So longer on yeah, faster on there was actually a moment. Longer on actually, faster on everything else. Contract there is. There's actually a moment. There's actually a moment where I reached, where I faster on to where I, slower on to reached, where I reached, and then the second one, reached out, longer on out, faster on to I reached. Yeah, there's actually a moment where I reached out. A pattern like that would sound a little bit more typical of a stress time language and less like a syllable time language. Okay, so that would make it sound a little bit more stress time. Identifying the stresses, go longer on the stress syllable in your stress word, and then go faster on everything else. You do need our other elements of contrast that we're always talking about, like pitch and speed and things like that. But today we're just going to be focusing on this rhythm because it's going to have the biggest impact. Let's take a listen to our second audio file and discuss a similar thing.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something.
Yeah. By the way, just a really fast note before we get feedback for this. If you're finding this helpful, you may also find, so I started another YouTube channel that's focused on pronunciation, but also communication skills, expressiveness, facial expressions, body language, all those sorts of things help you achieve a more natural sound. Speaking with emotion, which is a key missing ingredient for a lot of our speech. You can go to youtube.com/go forward. This channel is called Forward, and we'll be able to help you out there. And again, it's for word, like a language in a word. But it would be great to see you there. You can find more information on the channel as well. Thank you for that brief intermission. Let's listen to this audio file again and talk about what's happening.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something. That's what I'm hearing there. Let's talk again about our patterns.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something.
Okay. I think I'm hungry had slightly of a stress time kind of feel to it, but the other ones that were a little bit, again, more syllable time. I just woke up. What are we stressing? I just woke up. We could stress up. Just woke up. I just woke up. Just woke up. We could stress just. I just woke up. I just woke up. Whatever we stress, just make sure that the other things are getting weaker. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't have a place that you'll never hear people say, I just woke up. Like, I just woke up. Like, you can certainly do that. It's going to add some more emotion and weight to it. The problem is if we start doing that for everything. And I think that we kind of ran into that. Okay, so compare all those different rhythms. I just woke up. I just woke up. Just woke up. Yeah. I'm hungry. See, again, we're giving all the same weight to every syllable. I'm hungry. 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 See how weak the I'm can get? And if I do it with more of a stress time rhythm, I'm hungry. Hungry. The last part, I need to eat something. Again, that's very syllable timed. Need to eat something. Need to eat something. Okay, notice that stress on eat. Everything else around it, real weak and fast. I need something. Something. Need to eat something. Need to eat something. I need to eat something. Eat something.
I just woke up. I'm hungry. I need to eat something.
Okay, so kind of watching out again for all those different stress time patterns versus syllable time patterns. We want to make sure when we go into English that we're adopting more of the techniques that we need for a stress time language. With that, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Look, there's a lot of pronunciation resources out there. So the fact you spent some of your day here with me this morning or later in the day or in the future is greatly appreciated. Once again, my name is Geoff. It rhymes with breath. That is one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English pronunciation. I hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, have a good afternoon, and we will see you next week on Monday with another edition of the Schwa Mill. You guys take care.